Welcome to another edition of the Dental Today podcast. Thank you for stopping by. This is brought to you by labmediatv. My name is Hezekiah Morales, and here we go. Remember to follow us on social media at labmediatv.
Yeah, just if they're looking into any type of technology, you just got to make sure that you're buying it for a purpose. And if it doesn't fulfill that purpose, it doesn't meet that need, then you don't need it. Simple as that. Just to spend money is just stupid. Get something to be able to be productive, and that it's going to make you money. I don't have anything that just kind of sits around. Like, the whole reason I have a milling center is because I had an employee that absolutely loved that side of the business. And so I was like, I talk to so many people that need stuff and they need us to mill it, and they have problems, or when different laboratories go down, they got a piece of their equipment that goes down, they can't produce, they can send to us. And so that's kind of how it was born, because I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in milling machines over here to do work for us. But to be honest with you, they're so efficient, they're only running for like 2 to 2.5 hours a day, and that's it. Like, they're just sitting around collecting dust the rest of the time. And, the milling center was born by, like, hey, let's just open this up to other people that can't necessarily afford the equipment, or, back end, or they just don't want to fool with it.
Right.
They want to learn something new.
Right.
And just send it to us. And we have our motto. We got our motto back there for our Sierra milling under our logo, and it says technicians serving technicians. Like, we're we're looking at the end result just like you are as a technician. And if we see something that's going to be a problem, we're going to bring it to your attention. We're just not going to mill it and send it to you and say, hey, give me your money.
Right.
We want to evaluate it, and we know what these machines can do, what the software can do, and that's just kind of how it happened. And so now I have these machines that they're constantly busy.
And you officially opened Sierra Milling in 2015. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Wow. So anybody can contact you, and you'll take care of that. And one of the things that for our listeners that are, whether you're listening to this on via podcast, or whether you're watching it on YouTube or Instagram TV, we're going to have the link to Michael's information here. But Michael, you're also a consultant. You do consulting for Sirona, Densply Sirona in-lab, intraoral software. You're also a product tester for all the CAM milling systems. Not only that, you're also a computerized dentistry trainer and lecturer for the DoD, or the Department of Defense, which is, it's how in the world do you manage having your laboratory, which is the Sierra Dental Arts, Sierra Milling Center, and also the other one is the imaging, Sierra Imaging, and all these lecturing and training venues that you have to continually travel to? How do you manage this?
So the imaging just doesn't. That really is. I'm really not really affiliated with that at all much anymore. Now the lab, the milling center, and the consulting, training, lecturing, and all that I do. The lecturing and consulting is just simply a passion. I started many years ago. I started training for Sirona at the time, just going into different laboratories, commercial or privatized, or even in-house labs and dentist offices, and just showing them how to use their in-lab system. And the more that I traveled around, to date, so this is what is it? It's November the 14th of 2019. To date, I have been trained in over 200 and let me see, I've got it written down here, 232 different labs in my career.
Wow.
And I've learned a lot. I learned just as much, and it's funny how this works, but I've learned just as much in each one of those trainings that they learned from me. I mean, I can't tell you, there's not a single training that I've been on that I wouldn't go back and do it again. It's that valuable. It's part of my growth. But in that, I've had people break down and cry. I've had people say, this is my last ditch effort to save my business. I've had people in the same situation I'm in, like they're just, they're going through a divorce or about to get a divorce, and they're just, life is just giving them a fit. But while I'm there and I'm so receptive to all aspects of everything that's going on, I just kind of started offering my suggestions. And through some of those suggestions, got other conversations. Sometimes it was like, you know what? I noticed this about this person's laboratory. I kind of have the same thing going on in my laboratory. I need to correct that in my laboratory just like they need to correct it in theirs, because it's a bottleneck in their workflow. Just all sorts of things. So, you know, balancing it out, my family, I've got 3 kids, my wife and 3 kids, and we are very much one. They are passionate for their, as my kids are concerned, for their dad, and my wife for her husband. They finally feel my passion for what I do. And Hezekiah, you don't know me as long as a lot of other people may be listening to this, but there's a lot of events, like when I go to Chicago, or I've been to different venues. Like I'll have my wife, Mindy, or I'll have my kids and her with me. We travel and they travel with me. My kids have been able to see all sorts of places. Like we've been to New Orleans, to St. Louis, to Chicago, New York, Florida, so many different times, Biloxi. Like it just, the list goes on and on and on. But they get it. They see it. Now, if my family never traveled with me, they would never see it.
Right.
You know, they would be so disconnected they wouldn't understand. But they see the conversations that we have. They see my willingness to want to help people, because listen, dental people are my people. I love the camaraderie we have. I love the Facebook groups that we have that is really spearheading the educational push that this industry has in our profession, because, hey, 20 years ago, this profession's starting to die off. I mean, everybody's looking at technology saying, well, the technology is going to take over and it's going to replace us. I got some really good friends that have just completely embraced technology to the nth degree. And they're creating just these mega laboratories that are producing some outstanding work. But they saw an opportunity instead of a demise.
Right.
And then the fact that we no longer shelter our businesses. Like I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 laboratories within 25 miles of my lab, and we talk about once a week, talking about this, that. Hey, can you do this for me? Yeah, I can do that. Hey, I can do that for you, type deal. Like we're working together. We have completely different businesses. We're not competition. We don't look at each other as competition. I mean, for me, in a 50-mile radius, I have an option of over 2,200 dentists.
Wow.
And I'm in a little rural area in East Tennessee. Like, we're not competing against each other. We're trying to help each other out is what we're doing. And it's just, that's what you want to be a part of. You don't want to be a part of cutthroat commerce. You don't want to be, trying to flip over case pans and everything else. But that used to be the mentality. And my dad calls it the shirt pocket technique, the shirt pocket secret. Like most guys back in the day, like they are, they've got these couple little tricks that they do that make them a proprietary product. They're producing something that nobody else is producing, and they figured it out. But what they're doing is they're putting it in that shirt pocket, the old pocket protector type deal. They're putting it in there so it's close to them, and they're not going to share it because they're allowing that to define them. Those few things that they figured out, they're allowing that to define them. That's their secret. Like I don't have secrets, and most people today don't have secrets. That's one good thing. I mean, social media, I'll argue, is the demise of a lot of things. However, when it comes to the flow of information and people learning, social media is just an absolutely wonderful tool. I'm members and moderators on a few different groups that have, one group has, I think, over 12,000 members on it.
Wow.
In the group, and they're all over the world, and we're constantly sharing information. The move of information today, you have absolutely no excuse. Hezekiah, if you wanted to start a laboratory right now, there's plenty of information just on Instagram and Facebook that you could figure it out, and you could ask questions, and those questions would be answered. You'd have a business in less than 12 months. So, I mean, it's going to take a little bit of a capital investment from the get-go, but hey, you could do it.
Well, now that you're touching on this subject, I would like your opinion on the following. So, with the information that is available out there and the technology that is now readily available, as you mentioned, and especially here in the United States, because of not the expectation of regulation is not per se where some people that come from Europe would expect it to be, right? As we know, in Europe they have a much higher expectation for people's for a dental technician's education, right? Here in the United States is a little different. But what is your take on the following? Anybody that has per se capital, or they can get capital together, they can be a business mind, but not necessarily a dental mind, and they can buy a couple of machines, hire a couple of people, and go forth. What is your opinion? What are your opinions on that?
Well, it's very important to educate yourself first and foremost, because when you educate yourself, nobody can take that from you. Now, I mean, it is true. Many states in the country, you print out a business card, you got a business type deal. Dental lab is one of those. There's a few states that kind of have it locked down, that they kind of regulate them to an extent. Tennessee's not one of them. Now, do I think that is good or bad? I'll just be 100% honest with you. I think it's probably bad. There'll be a lot of people that don't want to hear me say that. There's a lot of bad dentistry that goes on from the lab side. There's a lot of things that are not followed. There's a lot of people that try to skirt everything with the FDA. Those things need to stop. I mean, I get it, and it's going to cost money. It's going to be some heartache, and it's going to be rough. But, the way that I say it is, if it's a law, the FDA is there to protect the people. That's why they're there. They're not there just to make money. That's not what they're doing. We should just play by the rules. Now, I do feel that through the laboratory industry, we're lacking in education of educating our laboratories, but there's just a lot of at-home labs that nobody really knows about. They got this husband and wife, and they work for like 2 or 3 doctors, and that's about it. They make a good living. I'm not saying that's bad. That's not at all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, and they could be producing some amazing work, maybe even better than what we produce. But there are ways to kind of to regulate it and regulate this industry to a way that that makes sense.
Right.
Now, I'm definitely not in favor of any type of government oversight on a grand scale to where it becomes all corporate and it just gets to where these mom and pop shops just start going away. Like, no, absolutely not. You're going to lose your quality at that point.
Absolutely. Thought about that.
But I think we need to have some standards that need to be met. There's some things that I probably should be doing that I'm not doing because I'm not required to do it. I do a lot of things. I won't go into details, but I do a lot of things that I feel that should be done, and they cost a lot of money, but it doesn't matter. It's the right way to do it, and I want to make sure that I get sterile sterile things to my doctors if it's going straight into surgery. There's a lot of people that just don't do it. They just throw it in a box and in a bag and send it on. Like there's definite need for a little bit of kind of oversight there. And then education. So the product industry and the sundries industry push education anymore. It's just we have so few schools that teach this profession anymore. More and more close every single year, which is really sad.
Yeah.
I hate the fact. I mean, if we want to really dig down deep and look and see why it's so hard to find people to work in our labs, is because kids today, they don't know we exist.
That's right.
I mean, so ever since I was in business, my very first employee was a young man who was I help at my church. I help with the youth, and he was looking for a job, just like a little part-time job, and so his mom and dad could drive him to work and pick him up, and he could work like about 2-3 hours, 3 or 4 days a week. And it's like, yeah, I'll do that. I mean, I'll pay you to do a little bit better. I'll pay you to clean the place up and then show you how to do this, how to do that. And they come in and they're just blown away of like, man, this is just really cool. Like, I didn't know that you're milling and I saw YouTube videos on, milling a motorcycle helmet or a football helmet or printing this or printing that, like, and you're doing it here just in this town. Like, and you may use this to make teeth. And I'm like, yeah, we do. But they just don't know. So it's really important to me that we continue to take this profession and we continue to advertise it. Let's tell people what we do. Like, now I kind of have a Southern drawl to my accent, and I tell people all the time. They say, "So what do you do for a living?" And I say, "Well, I make teeth." Most of the time, they're like, "You work at Starbucks? What? You make tea?" And I'm like, "No. I make teeth. The things you eat with." Dentures, partials, crowns, veneers, everything else. So, half the people on the phone, when they ask my name, I say Michael, and I guess because I talk through my nose somewhat, I guess it sounds like Marco. So everybody, I'll get stuff in the mail all the time from Marco Smith. It is what it is.
This guy.
I've just embraced it at this point.
That sounds hilarious. You know what's
But no, I
interesting?
mean, I kind of got off track there, but education is key. I know LSU they have an absolutely great program. There's several great programs that are still pumping out really good technicians. The problem is there's not enough of them.
Mm,
So I really think it's our duties for the medium-sized labs, the small laboratories. It doesn't cost anything to go to a high school career fair day and set up a table and spend a couple hours. It costs nothing.
absolutely. I
Um,
agree.
and then you'll get this one kid talking, and can you imagine um, taking a really nice 3D printer and maybe a milling machine or something, take it up there and have it going while the kids like you. I've done that once, and these kids flock to it. They're like,
Wow.
"Well, what are you doing? What? That's so cool! Didn't know that even was a thing."
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it's a thing. But I mean, that really goes with, like, I got a friend who makes hearing aids. He's an audio technician, I guess is what they call themselves. Um, Same deal. Nobody knows about them.
Hmm.
I say that their industry is probably hurting a little bit more than ours is, as far as looking for people. But yeah, I mean, it's a it's something that we have to change, and we've got to change it soon.
I agree. I was considering very, very similar ideas of what you just mentioned back in the day, and I'm not even back in the day. I mean, I'm not an old guy. I'm not old. I'm 32 right now. I'm a young guy. But I remember when I was in elementary school, there was something called Career Day.
Yeah,
And they would open up the cafeteria, and there would be different like different booths, just like when we go to Chicago,
right.
LMT Chicago, and they had different booths with different people talking about their career, and then they would take us to the auditorium, and 3 or 4 people would go up and they would talk about their industry and what they do. And we even had several trips. We would go to stockbrokers' offices and listen to them talk and all this. And we go to a hospital and all this. And it's interesting because before I got into the dental industry by working at a dental supply company, I didn't know that dental technicians existed.
Yeah,
Yet, how impactful is the job of a dental technician?
yeah, exactly.
Very impactful.
Yeah,
I mean, dental technicians are changing lives.
yeah,
That's because the dentist can't do it alone. The dentist needs that structure. They need a great dental technician. It's very, very interesting to hear you say that. Um, for our listeners as well, all the information that you've been talking about and going, not just touching the tip of the iceberg on this, they can find this information by contacting you or following you on Instagram, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But you are also a consultant. You're a consultant for laboratory operations and management consultant. You do have a bachelor's degree in business administration and in health service administration. So for those listeners that are interested in following you or setting up an appointment to get some more information about something, or make an appointment with you to get some consulting packages for them to improve their processes and everything in their laboratories, how can they reach you? What's the best email address, or what's the best website they can contact you?
Well, I would give you my website, but we're revamping it right now, so it's down at the moment for the milling center and for the lab. Probably the best way though is just through my email. I just have a kind of a semi-personal email set up, Sierra Dental Arts at AOL, and that's one of those. That's kind of a very personable way to get a hold of me. I can respond back with my phone number. You can call me, talk with you, kind of help you through a few different things. But You know, and I tell people this all the time, that I'm an open book. Um, I don't have, I'm not going to be a multimillionaire doing what I do. Never expect to be. And if I did, I'd just give it all to the church. So it doesn't matter to do missions. Um, it's it's kind of a cool way for me to kind of give back. How the Lord's, just blessed me through and through. And, if there's somebody needs a little bit of direction, a little bit of encouragement, and if I can be a little bit a part of that, then so be it. I mean, I'd be honored to. So, but yeah, that's just the best way to get a hold of me is through that email. Um, and who knows if there's anything else that anybody really has any questions on when it comes to even getting started. Um, I'd be more than happy to talk to. As a matter of fact, I got a gentleman coming next week who's looking to start a dental lab on he's about to graduate college, and he wants to move to an island in the Caribbean and start a dental lab.
Wow.
So I'm gonna help him do it and give him some direction on it. And I don't know what all different things he's going to face. A lot of things and a lot of issues that I probably don't face, but it's going to be a learning curve for me as well. So who knows?
That's fantastic. And so 2020, big year for continues to be a big year for dental technology. Where do we expect to see you? Obviously, February we're going to be seeing you in Chicago, LMT Lab Day Chicago. At the Hyatt Regency. Every year we're there. And by the way, you mentioned your wife and your children going with you. My wife and my son are actually coming along as well this year, so I'm pretty excited about that. So you'll get to
awesome.
meet my family. But besides that big show, where else can we find you? Where will you be teaching? Where will you be consulting throughout?
There'll be a few different trainings, just commercial trainings that I'll do. I'm just trying to think what I have on my list of to do in 2020. I think really the only thing that I have is I'll probably be at the Fun in the Sun, which used to be in Biloxi. It's now going to be in New Orleans. I'm going to try to make it down there this coming year. Love a lot of those people down at that show. I will be in Chicago. I'm actually getting to lecture again in Chicago. I don't think it's really finalized yet, but it's going to be continuing on my business track. I did a lecture last year, and then I've done some lectures at some of the Densply Sirona summits, and just on kind of business management. But we're gonna look a little bit more into the last time I think we talked about a little bit about people, employees, and our clients. This time we're going to start talking about a little bit more about the mechanics and the money, about what we ought to be responsible for in a dental lab, and if I have time, I'm going to even kind of throw in what a dental laboratory budget should look like. I'm very much a numbers guy. I love numbers. The one thing about numbers that I love is numbers don't lie.
That's right.
And looking at numbers, you can learn a lot about a company, learn a lot about a business, and there's a lot of things that just people overlook. So hopefully we'll get to do that in Chicago, but I definitely will be there. I haven't heard if my family's going to be there or not. More than likely they will be. They didn't get to go last year, and I was pretty much in the doghouse for my kids and my wife. But Chicago is such a great place for the family to visit, and if I have to, if I could tell that to anybody that's listening, like you've got to include everybody else into what you do. You've got to take them with you. You got to let them experience it. Because I tell you what, if my kids and my wife were not on board with what I do today, I wouldn't be doing it. They're more important to me than that, but they see how passionate I am and how much I love helping people and how much I love learning from other people, that they support me wholeheartedly. I mean, my kids get to, like I said earlier, they get to see anything and everything, and places that most of their friends have never been. I guarantee my kids have more miles in a vehicle or on an airplane than most any other kid they go to school with. But you know what? And it's kind of cool because we're in this little town. We know most people, and then being involved in the health service industry here, most people know me. Lots of teachers and educators. I mean, my kids get good grades, and they're great kids. Most of them top of the class and everything else, but I don't have to worry about keeping them out of school or missing a few too many days, because the good thing is the principals and stuff, they're like, well, listen, your kids get to experience life at a different level, and they get to see things that most kids don't see, and that's an education they're not going to learn sitting in a classroom. So
absolutely,
it is what it is, man. I'm definitely blessed beyond measure.
Well, I believe so. That is certainly one of the greatest blessings, to be able to do what you enjoy and have your family supported as well. And I will ask you one more question, and this is a deep one. Who knows how long you're going to have to answer this? But so, as the leader in your home, a leader must, if he or she is to be successful, one of the requisites is to cast that vision or share that vision. That's one of the things that Steve Jobs constantly did with his people. How is it that you are successful in doing it with your wife, who is your partner, and also to your children that may not understand everything just yet?
You just got to be real with them, and your successes are their successes. I never succeed. I never make a decision that's a good decision, and it's not their victory as well. You have to make sure. I'm a very loving person. I try to love my wife and my children well. I devote a lot of time. I probably don't love the rest of my family as well, just because I don't get to spend time with them. As we've already established, I'm a pretty busy person. But being busy, I love to share, and I love my kids and my wife to meet the people that I get to do business with, and to live life with through this thing called dental laboratory and dentistry. It's you just, I guess if I was just to sum it up, you just have to be real, first and foremost. But for me, my business, and all my businesses, is third in line. God's first, family second, and business is third. And I can't tell you how many times that I know a lot of good people. They'll put God first, and they'll put business second. They put their family third, and that's just not the dynamic that you need. You have to, and I have the potential to get choked up right now about this, but it's hard for me to, it's impossible for me to justify anything to do with teeth over my family's needs. And now there's a difference between wants and needs. I'm not saying that you need to be buying your kids a brand new Mercedes when they turn 16, and taking them on, a Disney vacation 4 times a year and all this. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a difference between want and needs. You need to give them everything that they need. They need to look at you as a husband or a wife. They need to look at you and know that you're passionate about what you do. You don't, trying to think of the word. Yeah, the words left me. I had it back there in the back of my mind a second ago, but you don't compromise. That's what I'm saying. You don't compromise on anything. You're being patient focused. You must be patient focused in this industry if you want to be successful. And you have to share that. You have to cast that vision. So just like a good business owner will cast their vision to their people. You bring them along, you include them in everything that you do. That's what a good business owner does. You have to do that with your family as well. They're every bit of part of you. My kids and my wife are every bit of a part of this business. I mean, I have a 16-year-old who's my oldest. I got a 16, a 15, and a 13-year-old. But my 15-year-old, or excuse me, 16-year-old, she's been kind of working in the lab for a couple of years. She knows how to scan models. She knows how to mill stuff, work in the milling center and ship things out and enter things into the computer. And I mean, she understands it and she wants to help. And, yeah, she gets money for it, but she understands it. She sees it, and she sees the conversations that I have with somebody on the phone that I'm trying to talk them off a ledge because they're wanting to fold up and, this isn't working and that isn't working. I'm going to send this back and I'm just going to shut my doors and I'm trying to talk them off a ledge or something because, they're making a drastic decision. So, they get it. So, we, everywhere we go, we take God everywhere we go. If anybody that knows me knows that, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my Creator at all. So, that's an important thing, as well. But yeah, I mean, don't leave your family out. Now, I don't care if you fry chicken, if you flip hamburgers at McDonald's, include your family in whatever way you can. We have just a unique opportunity to play with cool toys and to do cool processes and in what we do. And we're on a very personal level with people. A lot of times, we'll do a big case for a patient and it ends up, and I try to be there. And when it's seated and the patient's in tears, like you said, we're life changers. We're doing something for somebody that they couldn't do for themselves. We have that ability. And so we shouldn't take that lightly.
Definitely.
And, I'm sure I could do better, but I think I've done a pretty good job with my family. You just have to ask them. So if you see them in Chicago, you just have to talk to them and ask them. Get the real down low on it. I might just be feeding you a bunch of bull, but no, just gotta be real with them, 100%.
That's awesome. Well, Michael, it's been a pleasure having you here on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us once again.
Appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Or Michael Smith. And Michael, we will be having you back on the show. There is much more that I would like to touch on, and you have so much information and experience to share. And we'd definitely be honored to have you back, and looking forward to seeing you out there in Chicago.
All right, brother. Appreciate it, man. Have a blessed day.
Likewise.